Ankur, while you've been a pioneer in the technology-led aviation sector through Amadeus, now your group is also has launched a chain of hotels in India. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, hospitality was the next thing after we got a substantial amount of market share in travel IT, and here we are with 4 hotels as the beginning for us, 2 in India and 2 in the UK.
And you have given a very interesting name to it.
Yes, we call the hotels which belong to us and managed by us, Roseate Hotels and Resorts. And where the word comes is Roseate is a bird. Our parent company is the Bird Group. My first hotel, which was made, was formerly the Dusit Devrana, New Delhi, has a hues of rose in it in terms of its architecture and interiors, and that's where we sort of coined that word and fitted very well across all our properties as well.
Launching a luxury chain at this time of India's evolution, people would say that the market is really growing in the middle or the lower middle section where the volumes are picking up. So are you going against the trend?
Well, yes and no. Yes, the market growth is happening in the 3 and 4 star space, but there is a market for the 5-star and luxury space as well. In fact, it's been after 30 years that we're an Indian-led brand which is setting up a management and ownership across in the UK, and I think we are very proud of that. But luxury hospitality over the years have also evolved. There has been trends of what has happened earlier, and I don't think. I think we are. I wouldn't say that we are a disruptor, but we've looked at luxury hospitality in a different way, keeping art and design element across our properties as a core focus, and concentrating on the guest experience around that.
Where do you see the demand coming from? Do you see this from inbound travelers from other countries? Do you see corporate and top-end business travel being a part of your strategy?
So our inventories across our hotels is not that high. When you talk about luxury, you can't do thousands and thousands of rooms. It's a niche market what you're addressing to. It's a multi-folded market space. When you talk about India, you talk about 200 or 300 million Indian domestic travelers, for which there's a segmentation which will definitely want to stay in luxury hotels, and we want to give them experience which they can get anywhere, or experience which they can't even get in a lot of parts of the world. We've done that bits and pieces in terms of architecture and our services, which gives them a very international feel to whenever they're staying in our properties. And again, the same thing in the UK as well. So while we are an Indian originated brand, we take the hospitality bit of India, but we also take what is happening internationally and try to ensure that the best guest experience happens.
You're in a very good place, because I can tell you from my experience that I think Indian hotels and hospitality sector is amongst the best in the world. Wherever you go, even the developed countries, they're very, very cold and not so welcoming to their guests. But the experience of some of the global luxury brands in India has not been good. Some entered, tried to expand, and then they wrapped up their bags and went back. What are the learnings from those? How do you make sure that you don't make the mistakes that they did?
See, luxury hospitality is a very personalized experience, and I think that's been true for all the large luxury brands across the globe. We have and we will try to ensure that personalization remains in the product what we deliver to the end consumer. And I think while the international brands which are sort of wanting to come in, if they've done their own investments, I think they've stayed. But when you go to a standard management contract, I think it's a bit of a challenge, because obviously when you're developing luxury, when you're developing an ethos, when you're developing a brand, there's something which is more than just a plain cookie cutter approach when you set something up. And I think, and I'm a very strong believer that once you've done that, once you've gone into creating and spent time and effort and money in creating an international product, it makes more sense that if you're doing multiple properties, so that's one way to look at it, is that okay, I'm an individual guy, I'm developing this particular property which is a part of a larger real estate play. Yes, somebody else comes and manages that. But when you are getting into that business of owning and managing your own hotels, I think it's very important then that if you are wanting to take it forwards, that your brand ethos, your branding, your DNA is inculcated in that particular, and that can only happen if you own and do it yourself.
That's a good point, Ankur, because a lot of the global chains and some of the Indian chains are going for the asset-light model where they don't own the property, but they just have a franchise arrangement. But it's also interesting, and I want to dwell on that. You mentioned it earlier that it's rare for an Indian entrepreneur to launch his or her own brand in hospitality sector. We have not seen that in many years, as you mentioned. Why is it, and here I'm talking about India as a place to do business and for entrepreneurship, why is it that Indians are hesitating to launch more domestic Indian-owned hotel brands? Last was the big chains, but you are now creating the new wave perhaps.
Yes and no, because you've had successful chains like Lemon Tree, for example, which has done a fabulous job in the segmentation where they are.
But they are few and far between.
Yes. The thing is, hospitality business has a lot of real estate connotation to it. Now, real estate yields definitely differently when it is not used for hospitality. A lot of real estate players want to monetize their assets quickly, and hospitality is not the way, specifically in India, to do that. So if you want to get those returns coming in, and the larger ones, I don't think anybody has the patience to put on to that asset, and then afterwards take that yield off or an net EV value at the end of the day. So they rather want to make apartments and other things, and then
it would have been easier for you, once you acquire land, to rent it out to a global chain, but you took the harder path.
Yes, as I mentioned to you, because we are looking at this as a longer play. We are looking at this as, I think, it's passion at the end of the day. I don't think it's monetizing on assets. I don't think it's the way we are looking into it is making a quick buck and a turnaround in the investments what we've done. It is driving it for the future. It's driving the brand for delivering something which is unsurpassed by our design and service.